I've saved my progress as OneStrokeBevel.ai. In this exercise, we're going to add a few more strokes in order to build up the bevel effect. And in fact, we're going to do so by duplicating the stroke that we've created so far. So I'll click on Stroke here inside the Appearance panel. And there's a couple different things you could do. You could drop down to this Add New Stroke icon, or you could press its keyboard shortcut, which is Control-Alt/, or Command-Option/on a Mac. However, if you do that, you'll add a basic stroke. It won't have the transform effect, and you'll have to reassign transform. Just takes a little extra work. Whereas, if you click on this page icon down here at the bottom of the panel, then Illustrator duplicates whatever's selected, in this case the stroke, and its effect. So I'll go ahead and do that by clicking on a page icon, and notice it creates the new stroke on top. We're going to be editing our way down the stack. So I'll just go ahead and twirl this top guy closed. He's fine. And I'll twirl the bottom stroke open. And I'll change this line weight value to 18 points. I'll change the color of the stroke to white this time around. And you can see that it's appearing in the background, which is great. And I don't need to round off the corners this time because that's already done. What I do need to do is click on the word transform. So as opposed to clicking on stroke and then going back up to the effect menu and choosing the transform command again, either up here at the top of the menu or from distort and transform. But I do want you to see at the top, we've got two commands that allow you to duplicate the last effect you applied. One is apply, blah, 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 whatever the name of the last effect is, in which case you apply the exact same settings, or just choose that command right there, in our case transform, which applies the same effect, however, using new settings. So you'll get a dialog box on screen. However, if we choose either of these commands, we're going to end up getting an error message, which tells you, hey, this isn't the way you edit an existing effect. This is the way you apply yet another one. Do you really want two transforms applied to this one stroke? The answer is no, so I'll cancel out. What I want to do instead is click on the word transform in order to bring up this transform effect dialog box. Now, there are times where I'll apply multiple helpings of a single effect to a single object or attribute. However, this isn't one of them. Anyway, what I'm going to do is modify these settings, and I'm going to change them as follows. So I'm going to change the horizontal value to -4 and the vertical value to 1 point, and then turn on the preview checkbox so I can see what I'm doing, and that just nudges that white stroke a little more. Click OK in order to accept that modification. Grab that stroke, click on it. Click on the little page icon in order to duplicate it. Twirl this one closed, twirl this one open. I'm moving quickly just because this is pretty rote stuff here. I'll go ahead and click on the line weight and change it to 24 points. And then I'll click on the color swatch and I'll change it to this second to darkest brown down here. And then finally, I'll go ahead and click on the word transform to bring up the transform dialog box. And I will enter these values, -6 this time around, and then 1.5 for vertical. Turn on the preview checkbox so I can see what I'm doing. And notice we're incrementally nudging each one of these strokes. So the old strokes are still nudged to the same extent they were before. We're just changing the values associated with the new stroke. Click OK in order to accept that modification. Grab that stroke, click on a little page icon to duplicate it down there at the bottom of the panel. Let's go ahead and change the line weight associated with this newest stroke to 30 points. Actually, I forgot to twirl this guy closed and twirl this guy open. Need to do that. I'll change the color this time around back to our rich black. And then I'll click on transform, and I'll change the values to 8, -8 that is, for horizontal, and then 2 for vertical. Turn on the preview checkbox to see what I've done. Looks great. Click OK. Now, when I say looks great, I mean the strokes basically look pretty darn good, but you know what? The letters are now too thick. I don't need these big, huge, thick, gooey letters with all this beveling going on in the background. So it probably makes sense to change that offset path effect that I applied a couple of exercises ago, and I can. Because it's a dynamic effect, it's forever editable. Because it hasn't really been applied. I haven't made any real modifications to the path outlines. So I'll click on offset path, turn on preview just so I can see what I'm doing. And I'll nudge this value down by pressing the down arrow key. So this is a 3-point offset, and this is a 2-point offset. That looks good to me, 2 points. I'll go ahead and click OK in order to accept that modification. So there is our multi-stroke beveling effect. Each and every stroke has its own transform setting applied to it, as you can see here, its own dynamic effect. Now, what we've managed to do, of course, is add a sense of dimension to these letters, and it seems to me if the letters are deep, they should also be rendered in 3 dimensions so that we have a little perspective, and we're going to do just that in the very next exercise.